What's up, guys? Dirty Mike with Dirty Mike Crypto back with another entry in my Dirty Mike Dirty Dozen interview series. Today we have an awesome guest. We have Jewel Master from Degem, the CEO, here with us today. Jewel, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, man. How's it going today?
Oh man, it's great. I just finished up another interview a little bit earlier, so I'm already all warmed up and ready to go, and definitely excited to have you on today. I'm a big fan of your project and just everything you guys are, bringing to the legitimacy of crypto. And we'll just get started. I'll give you a kind of idea about how the format goes. I generally ask about 75, 80% serious questions, and then we have fun with a couple, less serious questions as well.
Awesome.
So we'll have a little bit of fun with this
Awesome.
today. I since this is something that's kind of important to your project, I'll start off with this question. I ask every guest this question because I don't necessarily think that there's one answer to it, but I like hearing kind of what everybody thinks. So I'm going to ask you, what do you think can be done to clean up the number of scam projects and rug pulls, with all these new BEP20 tokens that are launching?
Yeah, one of the things I say in my community all the time is you can't ever clean up an unregulated space unless you regulate it,
Right.
right? And my project lives in the DeFi world. So really, what's required is self-regulation. And what I mean by self-regulation is not that we go around with batons and beat everybody or chase everybody down that we think looks like a rug. Because I've seen honest, good projects flooded, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. I've seen them flooded to death, and because people thought they were a scam, and then when I did the research, it wasn't. So we can't go out there and just beat everybody. What we need to do is we need to educate investors on
Hmm.
like if you're investing more than $500 at a time, like I know people who put 10, 20, 60, 120 grand on a chart in one buy. If you're investing and you don't know how to read the functions of a contract, you should learn how to read solidity. You should learn how to read the functions of a contract. And most people don't read the functions of a contract before they invest, and then they cry out saying, oh, it was a scam. But that
Right.
contract can only do what it was designed to do. And it's not super hard. You just go watch a YouTube video. I mean, if you're putting tens of thousands of dollars a year, hundreds of thousands of dollars a year into contracts, it's very simple. It's not like they pulled the rug on you and made a Houdini because they did something to the contract. I mean, there's some very, very advanced scams where they can do something to the contract after it launches. But by and large, most scams that people lose money on, it's because people didn't read the functions of the contract. And the other thing too is like people need to be educated on the fact that they're playing in an unregulated world. So you can't at the same time jump up and down when you turned, because I've done this before. I don't know about you, but I've turned $400 into 32,000. Woohoo! You can't
I,
get
I
that in the
haven't I
stock
haven't
market.
done quite I haven't made that quite of a jump yet, but I was kind of early with Doge and Shiba Inu, and I actually sold way too early with it because I was just kind of happy with my 4 or 5x with it, and then it kind of kept going up. I'm like, shit.
Right, right, right. Well, even a 4 or 5x, you can't do that in the stock market. So we
No.
celebrate that in crypto. But at the same time, it's that way because it's unregulated. So at the same time, we can't cry because it's unregulated at the moment, the way that it is. And I really don't think no matter what governments do, DeFi is never really going to go anywhere in that regard. There will always be DeFi. You got to understand it comes with the territory. So if it comes with the territory, you need to learn about psychology of teams, psychology of communities, and know the difference between investing in shitcoins and investing in, well, investing,
Right.
because shitcoins aren't an investment, they're a flip.
It's just
And I
yeah,
have
it's just a
flipped a
roulette.
lot
Yeah.
of money on rugs. I flipped a lot of money on rugs, and I knew they were a rug before I got in or I got out, right? Like I had this feeling they were a rug before I could read the code. I wasn't a part of the rug or anything, but I knew I could make some money if I got in and got out in an hour. I think we've all made an investment one time or two where we're like, I'm not sure, but it's so
Yeah,
tempting, and then you get out before it rugs. You know what I mean? So you just got to understand the space, educate yourself.
absolutely.
We need to educate people more.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you 100%. And Like I said to you kind of off air, I really think that, a lot of or at least some of the responsibility should be on some of these launch pads that, launch these, projects. Of course, you can't always vet a project 100% to know with certainty, but I feel like it's just, too easy for them to just launch something instead of, maybe doing their due diligence and them looking into it a little bit. You could probably expand on that a little bit better because I know you guys have a premium launch pad that, you guys do vet these projects pretty thoroughly.
Yeah. Yeah, we definitely spend an ungodly amount of time vetting the projects, and ungodly in the sense that we could make so much more money if we just put crap in front of our investors. As a team, we could, the investors wouldn't, well, and the sad part is the investors might be like, well, you'll attract who you are. So if we decide to just put anything that walks our way out there, we'll attract a lot of investors that really only view our launchpad or investing, through our brand in something as like, oh, I'll go bot this or I'll snipe the liquidity, and that's how I'll make my money because there ain't no way I'm going to make money on the chart, right?
Yeah.
And I would say the foundational thing that still blows my mind. And so I want to tell you a secret, Dirty
Okay.
Mike. It's a dirty secret for Dirty Mike.
This is
All
the
right. I
place to
want to tell
tell it.
you,
This is the place for dirty
yeah,
secrets.
Mike, let me tell
Yes.
you one of the dirtiest secrets in crypto that I never knew after a year of trading crypto until we ran a launch pad.
What is it?
Most of these contracts aren't even tested when they launch them.
Really?
And here's what I mean by that. There was a pre-sale that happened a few days ago. I won't mention the name, but if people are listening to this rather soon from the recording, they might know. It's 15,000 BNB that they raised, okay? It's $7.5 million.
Wow.
They had over 2,000 people in VC for 8 hours because after $7.5 million worth of fundraising, they never thought to test their contract until the final moments,
Yeah.
and they delayed and delayed and delayed for 8 hours. Most developers do not test their contracts on mainnet. They test it on something called testnet,
Right.
which is like a dummy kind of like network, almost like a local network kind of test, right?
Yeah.
And so you're playing around with fake transactions there, but they've never put actual liquidity into their contract. They've never done actual dozens of trades on their contract before they put it in front of investors.
It's amazing.
And we make people that come to our launchpad, they have to do a mainnet test or they do not launch. And it's surprising how many launches out there that everyone's so excited about, even ones that have come to our launch pad with thousands and thousands of investors and a high BNB raise, and they're DMing us like days before, and they're like, wait, so I got to test this contract? And you're like, yeah, bro. Like, and if you don't, we're going to go ahead and cancel your pre-sale. And we've canceled pre-sales before because it came down to the last like 4 or 5 days and they hadn't tested their contract in mainnet. And then when they decided to go to another launch pad and drag us through the mud and say we were a-holes, they launched their contract. And guess what happened? They're now doing a migration. Yep. They're now doing a migration to a new contract because the contract doesn't work.
Yeah.
So the dirty little secret of DeFi is most of these contracts aren't tested.
Unbelievable. So you hear that, guys? You hear that, devs? If you're a future dev that's going to be on my show, get your shit together and test your contracts. God, it's amazing they can put that much effort into everything else and then just, neglect doing something just so basic as that.
I mean, it kind of makes sense that you would want to test it from a professional level, but if you think about crypto in general, and if you've ever worked with developers, no one's writing a brand new contract. I mean, a few people are, but everyone's writing a fork of a contract.
Right.
Which means somebody else wrote that code. You didn't write that code. You don't know it back to front. And you have potentially millions of dollars in your first couple of days that are going to come through those lines of code. And you didn't even write them. You gotta fucking test your contract. Unreal. You gotta test it, man.
Test it, guys. Come on. Jesus. For the next question, Jewel, we talked about this. You briefly mentioned this, but do you think regulation is good or bad for crypto? And do you think it can actually be done?
I think regulation for crypto is good, and in a whole, and in a way, I'm for it. But I'll always be a DeFi kid,
Yeah.
right? I'll always be in DeFi. I love the volatility, man. I love the
Yeah. It's
I
exciting.
love the gamble, man.
It's
I
like a
love the
casino.
gamble. It's exciting.
It is.
It's
It
like a
is.
casino,
I
right?
know.
It's fun,
I live
you
in a state
know.
with no gambling whatsoever, and I grew up in Philly, right near Atlantic City. I've been playing cards since I've been 14 years old down the casinos, and now I live in a state where all gambling is illegal at all. So crypto is definitely an escape.
Yeah, dude. Look, I'll tell you a funny story, right? I put I when I started my first month in crypto, I listened to a Gary V podcast and I was
Yeah.
thinking about either stocks or crypto, right?
Yeah.
And he said something that really caught my eye. He said most people they they try and go out and start a business or start a venture and they take out a loan. And he said, but they got useless crap in their house, so sell it. So I sold my electric scooter for zero point 0.8 BNB. And months later, I put $15,000 into a token, and 5 months later, I pulled out $130,000.
That's amazing.
Right? I love DeFi. I love it. I love the opportunity. I love the pioneership. I love the innovation. But you cannot control or clean up an unregulated world like I was mentioning before.
Yeah.
I think regulation is good because I think that in order for mass adoption to happen, Apple needs to be able to process crypto on their app store. I know they've hired a bunch of cryptographers. I know Amazon's talking about it. So with those things is going to come regulation. I'm not against it. I just realize that no matter how hard the government tries, they're never going to be able to regulate crypto in full. I see the CEO of Kraken just put out a thing and told people, said, get your money off of centralized exchanges because they're
Yeah, I
worried what
saw that. I
Biden
saw
in the
that.
US is. So on the one hand, it's necessary because I think it's going to bring new money, right? Crypto is growing at a rapid rate every year. We're seeing like 100% increase in users every single year, which is rapid. It's massive. By like 2030, like if you think you're late to crypto now and late to Bitcoin, you just wait until 2030, right? Like the metaverse, everything. So to answer your question in short, I think regulation can be good. I will always be a DeFi kid. I don't think you'll ever be able to get rid of that. And here's why. Because let's say a group of countries come together. Let's say 99% of them come together. There will always be that little one country that says, we could really use the economy. We welcome developers from other countries. We welcome people to come. In fact, you can take out your Bitcoin at an ATM. We won't even track it. Here you go.
And
There are
people,
countries
yeah.
in the world right now that if you move there for your first 10 years, your crypto to fiat, like taking crypto and putting it in your bank account, there's zero tax on it for your first 10 years.
That's
Right?
amazing.
So there are other countries out there that are always going to have their arms wide open to that revenue. And it's just a matter of, I don't know. One little slight thing I would just say, and this is just like us just kind of shooting the shit here.
Yeah.
If the government, in my opinion, if I was in the position of the government, this is just speculation. This is my opinion. Like this is my little idea. If I was them, what I would do is I would seek with crypto because it's so rapid and because globalization is becoming more and more of a thing, especially with the metaverse, social media, the internet, all that kind of stuff. I would start taxing people. Instead of taxing people annually, I would tax them off microtransactions, right? So tax them at the sell. Do a tax on the transaction.
Yeah, it's too hard to
right?
go back.
So
It's too
work
hard
it
to go
in.
back and try to backtrack all that shit. Yeah, just tax it right there. You're 100% right.
Tax it there. Take an extra 10%, whatever you want, off of every buy and sell. And guess what? Now you're not the government having to hunt people down come tax time. I would integrate crypto into the banking system if I was the government, and I would make it free for 3 years. I would get everybody hooked on it.
Yep.
And then I would
and then
turn
start
around
doing
once
the
the banking
taxes. Yep.
systems were integrated. Yeah. And then I would go to the banks and I would say, every transaction that happens on the blockchain through the banking system, hey guys, you had your ride. It was 3 years long. Now every single one of those, the bank has to send me, or whatever institution is processing them, you guys have to send us 10% of every single transaction, because they're actual businesses, and that the government can control. It can control those gateways, but it can't control people.
No, that's an amazing way to put that, and that I think that is the road to mass adoption. What you just said right there, I think is the road to adopt that, because in those first few years, you get all companies converting over to accepting crypto, dealing with crypto, and then you lower the boom and you start collecting the tax once everybody's dependent on it. Absolutely.
It's a savage move, but that's how I would do it. I would make it free. I would tell everybody it's amazing. We're integrating it into your banking apps. We'll give you debit cards. Isn't crypto amazing? Use crypto. Crypto's the best thing ever. We're moving away from fiat. It solves all our problems. Woohoo! 3 years later, all right, guys. So we're taxing every transaction 10%, 20%. And then what are people going to do?
Yeah, they're already dependent on it. You're 100% right. It's a lot easier than tracking down people, which isn't going to work. Absolutely. So let me ask you, Jewel, what has been your greatest challenge so far that you didn't expect or plan for?
Hmm. I've probably had over 19. We were counting it up the other day as a team. I've had over 19 what I call project killing events that had either happened internally or almost happened, whether it was someone trying to steal money from me or a marketing guy running off with some funds or whatever, right?
Nice.
I think when you launch a crypto project, let me just speak to the person who's wanting to hear what I have to say, and maybe they're thinking about launching a crypto project. There's two phases that a crypto project goes through. One is called the trust phase. That's in the beginning, when you and a bunch of buddies get together and you're only going to do business with guys you trust.
Right.
There's the trust phase, and then there's the performance phase, because the same people that you trust might not be the most talented people to help you deliver something. And what I've realized is, in transitioning, so the trust phase goes all the way up to launch. And then after launch, when money starts flowing in, that's how you really find out who you can trust.
Yeah.
And then you go into the performance phase, where it's all about delivering, and it's about it's about building what you've told everyone you would do. And I think that if you're going to launch a project, what you need to understand is not everybody that launches with you is going to stay with you. And at the end of the day, some of your best friends that launch with you, they may not stay with you. You may have people on the team that would told you they would be there forever and ever, and they send you a DM the night before and get on a call with you for an hour. This has literally happened to me. Oh my gosh, I believe in this. Yeah, give me 3 people over here. Let's start pushing this. Let's start doing this. And then the next day they dump their bag.
Yep.
And then they just disappear. Right. I would say the biggest struggles I think that I've gone through is like trust. The team I have now, I trust 10,000%. But in fact, all of the people on my team, aside from my developer, all of them bought their tokens. They weren't gifted any tokens, and they invested and then came in and wanted to grow their bag. And most of the people that started with me, they're no longer here. And you got to be open-handed on that, and you can't be salty about it or anything like that. You just got to move forward. And then I think maybe just the second thing is like, ignore the bullshit, man. I have had so many challenges come my team's way that now, like, I kind of chuckle, like FUD and difficulty and whatever. It's just background noise to me. I don't even I pay attention to it, and I'm on top of it with my team, right? Because I have a really, really trustworthy team. But I just don't lose any sleep over some guy telling me, "Oh, you're the best in the world," and then going out there and talking to some investors or whatever. I just don't lose sleep over that anymore. I'm like, yeah, whatever. You guys do you. I'm building my thing. We're building our thing as a community. Whoever's here tomorrow, that's who I'm working with. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, don't get all like bent out of shape because you had someone FUD you, or been out of shape because you had a mod go rogue and someone paid them off to come in and FUD you, and like just you can't get bent out of shape about those things. You just move forward, or it'll just wear you out, and your project will fail.
Absolutely, that's great advice. That's great. So anybody who's listening, I know a couple friends who are involved with starting their projects right now too. Listen to this man. Here's advice. He will steer you in the right direction. So we're gonna lighten it up for this next question. And you may not have ever thought about this before, but what dinner would you choose as your last meal? I'm a big foodie. I'm from Philly, and we love our cheesesteaks, Italian sausage, roast pork. So I love hearing everybody from all over the world and all over the country what they love.
I okay, I'll give you my I'll give you my low class last meal,
All
right?
right,
And then I'll give you my premium.
all right.
In and out, bro. In and out cheeseburgers should be
Oh
my
God,
last
someone
meal,
else
brother.
said that too. Someone else said
That'd
that
be my
too.
last meal, man. Animal style fries, animal style burger. Let's bring it on, baby.
That's so funny. Yeah. All right. So what's the premium one?
I'd have a T-bone steak, man. I'd have a T-bone steak with asparagus and gravy and all that good stuff.
Mm, that does sound delicious for sure. Yeah, that's funny. You're the second repeat with those two. Someone else said that, and someone else said the T-bone steak too. Yeah, steak's definitely the way to go for that. Oh man, that's so delicious.
Yeah.
I'd probably do if I had to pick one. I'd probably pick Italian sausage with onions and peppers, just nice and caramelized.
Mm,
Oh my god, so
mm.
good. Oh man,
I've been through Philly, Jersey,
yeah.
New York, and I'm telling you, dude, the Italian food there is just
Oh,
it's next level, bro.
uh,
It's like nothing I've ever had
I'll
before. It's
tell you what,
amazing.
it's funny. I just recently moved to South Carolina, and you would never
Yeah.
think that the food scene down here is fantastic. But I live outside of Greenville, and when I tell you this is like foodie heaven down here, I mean, there's not a whole lot of chains. It's just every type of food you could imagine. Like I've gotten into ramen and pho and all kinds of shit that I
Uh-huh.
never thought I would like. And there's just so much different stuff down here. I would never have believed it. But
Yeah, it's because you're in the South, baby, man. We're
yeah.
foodies. The people in the South were foodies, baby.
I know. I just had fried chicken and waffles for the first time, and shrimp and grits, and oh my god, just stuff I've never had in my life. So it's almost like a new experience, which is kind of cool for sure.
Yeah, 100%. I remember the first time I was like, I went to this pizza place with a friend, and they said, "Yeah, we're gonna go order a pie." I was like, "Why are we going to a pizza place to order a pie?"
Yeah,
And they're like,
pizza
"You'll see."
pie.
Oh, dude, like they're like, "Hey, it's gonna take 40 minutes to make this." I'm like, "Why the crap does it take 40 minutes to make a pizza?" And then they brought it out, and it was like 5 or 6 inches deep. I was
Yeah,
like,
it's
"Oh,
just
this is an
thick and
actual pie."
startling. Oh my god. Oh god, stop. Man, I'm getting hungry. I haven't eaten lunch yet either. This is the second time around with this question today, so I'm fucking starving at this point. Hearing everybody talk about it. Oh my god. All right, I gotta get back on track now. All right, so what's a passion of yours that's not crypto related? Like, what are you into doing that's not completely outside the space? Like, what do you like doing that's not involved with this shit?
I because of COVID, I'm really focused on crypto right now because I can't do the other thing. I love traveling, man. I
Yeah,
love traveling. I've traveled all over the states. I've been to like 42 different states in the US. I have traveled to different countries in the world. I've eaten some of the best food in some of the best places. And for a few years, I traveled quite extensively, which meant every day I woke up in a new city. Sometimes, multiple states within a single week when I was traveling. And every time I went to wherever I was, whether I was going to speak or meet with somebody, and I would just say, "Oh, what's good? What's good around here?" And they take me to the local mom and pop shops, not the chains, the mom and pop shops, and I just started falling in love with all these different takes on food in local restaurants with recipes that are hundreds of years old or whatever, and I'm a foodie and I love
Yeah,
traveling.
that's awesome. Yeah, COVID's definitely put a kibosh on that for sure. And I was in Florida beforehand, and Florida was just the land that COVID forgot. Nobody gave a shit about COVID down there. The governor just, everything
I
was
heard
open
about
from the
that.
beginning. I mean, it was like COVID wasn't even happening down in Florida. Like, I own a freight business as my regular job. I own a freight agency, and half of the states I worked with, they were out in California. Everything was shut down. People were home. Everything was slowing down. And then in Florida, I mean, just everything was just open, business as usual, as if nothing had happened. It was crazy.
Yeah. Jacksonville was my favorite place I ever visited in Florida. And Chewy's and Tijuana Flats were my favorite
Yeah,
restaurants when I was in
Tijuana
Florida.
Flats is good. I did like Tijuana
Yeah.
Flats. I was in the Tampa area. I was in the Tampa Bay area,
I
but
haven't been to Tampa, so I can't judge all of Florida because I haven't been to Tampa and I haven't been to Miami, and those are still on my bucket list. But Jacksonville, the white beaches there, it was amazing.
yeah, I was about 4 miles from Clearwater Beach, which is just one of the nicest beaches in the country, and just white powder sand. And what's cool about it is, no matter how hot it is outside, the sand doesn't heat up. Like if you go to the Jersey Shore in the summertime, where the sand's like 125 degrees, and you'll actually get blisters on your feet. You got to run from the boardwalk to the ocean. And Florida, it's not like that. They have this white quartz sand, and it just doesn't retain heat. It's the craziest thing. It'll just feel cool to the touch, and it'll be 98 degrees out.
Yeah, for
Absolutely
sure,
amazing.
100%.
So let me ask you: if you weren't the CEO of Degem, what would you be doing?
Mm. That's it. Still be in crypto, I'd be a day trader.
Yeah,
And I'm a, my I want to say this in like a humble way, but I'm just gonna say it. I'm a really great fucking day trader, like really good.
yeah,
I started in BSC. I didn't start in Ethereum. I didn't start in any bougie, you know, chain, blockchain, or network. I didn't start anywhere. I started at the bottom of the barrel. I started, in BSC, and I fell in love with it. And on a good weekend for me, I can turn over anywhere between 10 to 20 grand on a weekend, and I love day trading. So if I wasn't running, I tell my team all the time because they're like, every once in a while, someone would be like, "Man, we've had so many challenges. Are you cool?" Because my team understands that like I'm not paid by DGEM. I'm not drawing a paycheck from DGEM. I'm putting the project first and putting my
right.
team first, my community first,
Yeah, it's
and
a good rule
I'll
of
get my
thumb. Yeah,
paycheck later on down the line.
absolutely.
Yeah, I'll put my paycheck, and I joke with my team all the time. They're like, "Oh man, that's so great," and I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, but understand, I will get paid more than you later." But it's just not now. It's just not now. Not now. Let's put the project first, the team first. Make sure the team that's running it are getting paid and stuff like that. But every once in a while, if I just need a little bit of money, which I'm pretty self sufficient, with my portfolio now. But every once in a while, I'll just say, "Hey guys, I'm gonna take a break for the weekend," and then I'll come back to be like, "How much do you make?" I'm like, "Well, made like 15K this weekend." It's kind of like when you haven't ridden a bike for a long time or done something like you used to do when you were young. Every once in a while, I go back out there to say, "Does Daddy still have it?" Daddy still
Yeah,
has it.
and for me, it was playing poker. For me, it was playing poker. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I used to play professionally, and then when I'd have to get a real job, and then I'd be like, all right, do I still got it? Let me go back. I got to get a little bit of quick money. Let me go back and try to scrape it out this weekend. So yeah, it's like the same thing. I
Yeah, so I love trading crypto, man. And when I say that, like obviously when I say I'm making, if I on a good weekend I can make 10, 15, maybe 20 grand, you gotta understand I'm shitcoin trading, I'm flipping, right? I'm
right.
gambling, right?
Yeah,
I'm
you're
I'm playing
gambling.
I'm playing against the house, right? But I call it to my team, I tell them like you gotta be a Jekyll and Hyde trader. You got to understand the difference. And if you don't mind, I'll actually share kind of my philosophy on trading. Maybe someone will find that helpful.
I
You
could
mind if I
find
do
it
that?
helpful. I mean, the YouTube thing just kind of came out of nowhere, to be honest with you. I was just a regular trader, and I invested in a project, and I noticed nobody made a YouTube video on it yet. And I said, you know what? Let me make a video on it, because I always liked watching videos on like stuff that I invested in. And I made a video, posted it in one of the groups, and I got some good response to it. And then I made another, and another, and then now I'm doing interviews and videos for projects, and doing promos for them, and it just kind of came out of nowhere. So I'm still learning on the fly too.
Cool. Well, let me preface it by saying this. When I got into crypto and I started learning my thing, I just want to be clear so people understand. I don't use bots. I don't have insider information in some huge network that's like, hey, this project, blah, blah, blah. Like, I literally have no more advantage than the average person that would be listening to this. Okay. And this is the strategy. First of all, I know the difference between a long trade and a short trade.
Right.
And I make that decision before I hit the enter button and swap and go into this token. Am I in here, long term, and I'm not going to really look at the chart and come back to it, which in crypto is hard to do because it's so volatile and a lot of projects rug. So I very, very rarely do that. I probably only make like about 3 or 4 trades like that a year. And they're good trades for me, and they're long-term trades. And I probably end up making probably more on those long-term trades a year than I do the short-term ones. But there's still a lot of money to be made on the short term. So if you're coming into crypto and your portfolio is under, I don't know, 50 grand, right? Or let's just say you're starting off with like a few $100 or maybe $1,000 or whatever. Don't ever put your paycheck into it. Go sell something in your house that you don't use anymore,
Good
so that if
advice.
you lose it on a rug,
Good
you're not
advice.
you're not losing your paycheck, right? A
Yeah.
lot of people do that, and it bothers the crap out of me. So don't put more than you're willing to lose, and really you need to view your first 15 to 20 grand worth of losses, say over a year, maybe even over a month or two. You need to view those as very, very important lessons. You didn't lose, you learned.
You
And that's
learned.
very important because a lot of people get out of crypto because they feel like they just lose all the time and they don't ask themselves what was the valuable lesson and literally sit down and have a meeting with yourself and take notes about what happened and why did that trade go south. But so this is the thing, right? When I invest, I go into their community, I look at their community, I look at their team, I listen to their voice chat, right? I see what they're doing. And you got to educate yourself on what's a good quick flip and what's a bad quick flip. But most of the time, I'll even trade on something that I'm kind of like 70% sure it's going to rug. And I know this is super savage, but I invest in the psychology of those quick flips
Right.
more than I do. Does the team doxed and is
Yeah.
the contract renounced and blah 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 blah. I go in and I say, cool, I'm investing in this, in the short term, and I go in and I never put in more than I'm willing to lose. Right. So when I first started out with $400, my trades were $10 at a time. I went back and looked at my original wallet the other day, and I was very humbled because now when I lose money, I lose like a grand or two. And then I'm like, oh, well, that sucks. But back in the day when I lost 20, 30
It
grand
was a
or
big
20 or
deal.
$30,
It was a big deal.
that was a lot of money. I was like sick at the stomach. Right.
Yeah.
Um, so ratios are really important. If your portfolio is under 50 grand, I'll get down to the nitty gritty here. You should not be trading, you know, huge ratios. Like if you have $1,000, your trade should be no more than $50 on each one.
Right.
Maybe you need to get into some fair launches. You're not going to make a crap ton of money trading Bitcoin with $50. It's going to need to go from 30,000 to 60,000 for your $50 to turn into 100. You're not going to make a ton of money. So you're going to have to do higher risk, high reward trades, which means you're going to need to get into fair launches, stealth launches, pre-sales of really, really hype projects. And you're going to need to get out as soon as you get into the positive, 2x, 3x.
Yeah.
The longer you hold, the more you have a risk of everything going to zero. I once put $1,700 into a token. And that night I stayed up till 4 a.m. because I watched it go up to $73,000. I went to
Amazing.
go to the bathroom, came
Yeah.
back, and it was worth 30 grand.
That was
Then I watched that
that's
30
an
grand. I was like,
expensive
oh,
piss.
yeah. And I was like, oh, shoot. Well, I did the moon boy thing. It's going to correct. It's going to correct.
Yeah,
Didn't
and then
correct.
it
It
goes
dumped
down
again.
even further, and you're like, shit.
Yeah. And it wasn't a rug. It was actually, the team was honest. It was a pump and dump project, right? And they spent a lot of money on marketing. So a lot of people made a lot of money. The chart just pumped for several hours. It wasn't a honeypot, it wasn't anything. When I walked away, I think I made out with like an extra $5,000, what I put in, which is still good. And only in crypto do you walk away turning like $1,700 into $5,000, feeling like you lost. Like it blows my mind sometimes.
It's so
And
true.
but here's the key. Here's the absolute key in gaining a lot of money your first year in crypto.
All right, let's
The
hear it.
moment your portfolio hits like 10 grand, 20 grand, 30 grand, stop shitcoin trading your whole portfolio, man. Stop. Don't go from $50 to now you're trading $1,500 at a time. And then when that gets rugged, you're like,
that's a big
stop.
hit. Yeah.
Reserve a certain portion of your portfolio, work off percentages. Maybe it's 30% that's your play money.
Right.
Invest $100 in something, see it turn into 1,500. Take that 1,500, reserve 500 for you. Maybe you're in a country where you can pull it out, put it in your bank account, share it with your wife because she's asking you, or your girlfriend because she's asking why the fuck you're staying up till 3 or 4 a.m. all the time. And then she can start feeling the moolah. She's like, hey, go for it. You know, I didn't realize I just got in. I'm married, or my boyfriend's a sugar daddy now, right? Let your family taste a little bit of the glory. And then of the other like 2/3, take 1/3 of it and start doing longer trades, and take the other third and keep doing your short trades, but keep it the same ratio. You know what I mean? Like quit. This is where people go wrong. Their portfolio outgrows their trading pattern. They got lucky. They had a good run, whatever you want to call it. And then they come off the back of, I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but they come off the back of like 5 or 6 lucrative trades, and they're just feeling confident, and they put a ton of money into something, and then they lose it all.
Well, it all comes down to, like I said, when I used to play poker professionally, that's the way I used to. You had to manage your bankroll, so you would never put more than 5% of your bankroll on a table at any given time. And then that's what would happen. You'd have 2, 3, 4, 5 good winning sessions on a table that you're starting to do great on. And now instead of playing 2-5 no limit hold'em, you're going up to the 10-20 game where the sharks have like 25, 30,000 on the table, and you're just a minnow and you're playing scared and you lose your money. That's exactly the same thing.
A lot of people start off with a shitcoin portfolio, which shitcoin portfolio is anything under 10 grand, in my opinion. They exceed that and they keep trading high risk, high reward. And eventually that thing's going to bite you in the ass.
Yeah.
You got to learn to diversify. They teach this to people all the time in investment world, right? But diversify. Know the difference between put some in some stable coins, because BNB might take a crap next week.
Absolutely.
Put some in Ethereum. Put some in Bitcoin. Put some in AVAX. Put some in Phantom, or some of these newer blockchains that right now, if you invest in the next bull cycle, it's going to do 100x, but you just need to hold it for 9 months or a year. You know what I mean?
I feel like you're talking right to me, because I'm that investor that you're talking about, like right at that mid tier where I've got, I don't have a huge bankroll now, but just where I'm starting to get up there a little bit. But I feel like you were talking right to me, and that's great advice, guys. So anybody who's listening to this, this is great investment advice. And even though it's not investment advice, it's investment advice. This is smart shit you're saying here.
It's psychology advice.
It's psychology advice.
Your psychology of your portfolio matters more than what you're trading.
Absolutely.
Let that sink in.
Awesome.
Your psychology matters more than what you're trading, because it's your psychology, and everybody, this whole thing is psychological.
It is.
Bitcoin is psychological. Ethereum is psychological. What's the new Pulse chain? It's psychological. This is all psychology. So understand your psychology, what your pitfalls are. If your pitfalls are, I call them revenge trades. You put in $100 and you pulled out $6,000. I know somebody did that recently, in my community. And then they took the $6,000 and they went back to the same place they just traded it from after they got out in a good position, and then they lost it all, right? Like, if that's your weakness, is you're on this euphoric high and you go back and you force yourself, the moment you pull out that $6,000 from your $100 or $200 investment, start sending it to multiple wallets.
Yeah, it's
right?
smart.
The other day, I was a little low on some funds in my trading wallets, and I was like, I haven't checked some of these older wallets, and I was like, hey, I just found 10 BNB.
You
Woohoo!
found some money.
Right?
That's awesome.
Yeah, because I put it under a mattress somewhere in
Yeah,
some wallet I forgot about that I
that's
still
cool.
had access to. But I was like, oh, cool, there's that. And
Nice.
it helped
So
me to
see what you can
start
do with that.
doing some more trading.
Awesome. All right, we're gonna switch subjects here. Who are your 3 favorite bands or musicians right now? Who are you listening to?
Oh, I have to pull it up on Spotify because some of them are pretty new school. I
All right, well,
would say,
I'll tell you what. Give me your 3 best. Give me your 3 all time.
dude, AC/DC.
Yeah.
Come on, AC/DC. How can you not love AC/DC? I love AC/DC.
They're great.
I would say, hold on, let me pull this up because I do actually listen to a lot of like new school stuff. And this is probably gonna, oh, you know what? I love the kid Lowry, I think, or Lowry, or whatever his name
Yeah, I know who
is.
you're talking about.
I like, yeah, I think that kid's got some cool music. And then the other one is dude, I love Eminem.
You're the
I'm
second
old
you're
school
the
Eminem.
second interview in a row that said Eminem is one of their favorites too. That's funny.
Dude,
Yeah, I'm a fan too.
I'm old school. I'm old school Eminem, man. I love Eminem.
Awesome, man. All right, so we got time for 2 more questions here. One's going to be a serious one. One's going to be another fun one here. Tell me a little bit about your gem cave.
Yeah, so the Gem Cave is it's we're Degem, and we're all about helping the Degens become smarter gem finders, right? So it's Degem, right? And the Gem Cave fits within our branding, and it's our staking platform. And right now we're upgrading to a V2 contract, so the Gem Cave doesn't look that impressive because we're waiting for one final pool to expire before we move over to our new contract, which will have a compounding feature and a few other really cool things in there. But the goal over the next like month or two is to get like about a dozen pools and farms. And if you hold Degem, so if a project comes to us and they say, we offer our staking platform not only for us, but for other projects that launch off our launchpad or existing projects. So you come to us and you say, hey, I want to, what does it cost to get into the Gem Cave, right? So it's 5 BNB, which, right now that's like probably $2,000. But to develop that same platform and get the CertiK audits like we have in Skynet and all that other stuff, it would take you, depending on your developers, maybe about a month and about 60 grand. So $2,000 ain't that bad to get your, into a staking platform, and it's a turnkey solution for you and your community. So you come to us, you say that, let's say you give over 3% of your supply for your investors. What we do is we have an agreement with the projects that come to us. Hey, we're going to take 15% of that total amount you gave us, and we're going to give it back to Degem holders to get their feet wet in your project. So if you're a Degem holder, it means that every time a new pool or a new farm comes out, it means that you're going to get one too. It's not going to be as many tokens, but the idea is the more and more and more, we want to eventually get to 40, 50, 60 different pools and farms happening all at once. The more and more, the less and less people that will be in each one that hold Degem, and the higher and higher those APYs will be. And so I'm a real big fan of our Gem Cave. I'm a staking, farming nerd. I love it.
Yeah,
and
I like it too.
I greedily want it to grow just for me because I have a big bag of Degem, and I love going into those staking platforms and getting rewarded in their tokens because those other tokens have benefits and things like that. So our token is primarily like a perks token. Yes, we want to pump the chart. Yes, we want to grow our market cap to 100 million, 200 million. However, in the short term, we just want to get a lot of perks and benefits to holding our token, whether that's an advantage that you get when a pre-sale happens, which is something we're preparing to really talk to our community about. And so we've got some cool things on the horizon there, or it's getting exchange volume from the profits of our exchange. It's primarily a perks token.
Awesome. Awesome. That's very great information. And I end every interview with this question. So I don't know if you've seen any of my videos on it yet, so you may or may not know what's coming. So let's just hit you with it. What celebrity, historical figure, literary figure, or fictional character would you like to fight if you had the chance? Who's just rubbed you the wrong
Well,
way and
who
you
would I?
just would throw it down with?
Oh, okay, okay. Let's see. Let me think about that one. That's a good question.
Yeah.
You know, I've been in a few like actual fights in my life. I'm not a big fighter, but I love watching UFC.
Yeah, same here. I'm a big US man.
Man,
We're definitely gonna be friends after this for sure. You're a friend
yeah,
of Dirty Mike Crypto for life now.
yeah. I don't. I could never take him. Man, I would love to take on Conor McGregor. I could never take him. Right?
Right, but
It
you just
never
like to
happened.
just have the shot
He's
to
the
beat his ass,
biggest.
maybe.
He's a trash
He
talker.
is.
However, I will say this. I will say this. You got to give the man respect because he does back up the game most of the time, right? There's a reason he's the champ, quote unquote. And I
Yeah.
know he just recently broke his leg, but I mean, I am inspired by greatness, by people who are great. Your Elon Musk's, your Bill Gates, your Steve Jobs. I'm a techie guy, so those are kind of the people that I follow. Your Gary V's. I
Yeah.
really love Gary V. But the thing I hate the most are people that are just like cocky and arrogant. If they could back it up, then more power to them. But that ain't my style.
Yeah.
And Conor McGregor, my man, for sure.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me on this interview here at Dirty Mike Dirty Dozen. This was actually a ton of fun. We got a lot of information out there on both your project and just great investing advice and advice for future projects as well. So I'm going to get this out to as many people as possible. I will shoot you a copy of this video afterwards. You can definitely post it in the community, get everybody excited about it. And this was a great time,
Dude,
man.
I
I definitely
appreciate
look forward to talking and working with you in the future.
I appreciate it, my man. I'll talk to you later. Thank you
Awesome.
so
Thanks,
much.
Jewel. Have a great one, buddy.
All right. All right.
Bye bye.